when you own property, you're not just owning the property, you're actually only coming up with a certain percentage, and for the bank will lend you the rest of the amount. And when you get appreciation on each property, you're actually getting appreciation on the full amount.
So how old were you when you learned this?
I was like 14.
It wasn't until I got my first big boy job as an analyst that I'm like, and I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm like, until I realized that. I was like 25 or 26. Somebody was doing it right in front of me, but he never talked about like, that was business. So I just think he was stuff though. Welcome everybody to another episode of DC Talks with David Gianelli. I'm your host, obviously David Gianelli. I got a great couple of guests with me today from Royal LePage Signature. We got a mother and daughter. So mother and daughter, yeah. Mother and son team. We got the Lillers with us. Russ and Karen, thank you so much for coming to the
Thanks
DC
for having us.
Thanks for having
Thanks for having
us.
us.
This is fun.
Yeah, and Dave asked me after hockey, after we won our last game, he's like, all right, now you can be on my podcast. Like, 97 in. Thanks.
Well, it was funny because I was like, we try to do we record 4 in one day, and I always like to have 1 or 2 guests, and it's always just kind of like up in the air, and I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, I didn't, no offense to you. I was just like, hey, I didn't even think about it. I'm like,
It's okay. It's okay. I take offense to everything. I'm a realtor. I'm just kidding.
So you guys have a pretty good, a little bit of a backstory. So we had worked on a deal a few years ago, and you guys were with a different brokerage.
That's right.
And this is kind of how it starts. So a little bit back and forth. We talk about this a lot on my channel. We say when you have a good other realtor which you have a good rapport with, the deal kind of just works itself out.
That's right.
How important it is. And I think when I talked to both of you, it was easy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the transaction was an easy. It was a $2 million deal we did. A condo was
that's right.
it was a good deal. I think both sides were happy the way it worked out.
Yeah.
But you guys are so smooth on that side, and that's why I drew me towards you guys to invite you to Royal LePage Signature.
I learned from the best, and thank you for inviting us.
Yeah. And just to let you know, in this podcast, he'll cut me off about 72 times, but it's okay. I'm used to it.
As Russ scrubs his nose, it's like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah.
I have a problem. I like to talk. I like to be the center of
Give to the
attention,
gap.
and it's
he's got it.
I do step on toes sometimes with my mom specifically.
Yeah.
So talk to me, what did you guys do before, and how did you guys become a mother-son team? Was it something always in the head? Had you been in real estate a long time, or you just one of a sudden one day you said, hey, let's do this?
Well, I started in 2008, so I'm not really I'm not been at it for that long, even though I'm that old. But I'm
You're not old, by the way. But yeah.
well, that's to be discussed at another time. But and then it took a while for Russ to come around to real estate. He fought for a while. There was a lot of options for him, and then he decided to join, and it's been great.
So what did you do before 2008? So what were you before your previous life?
So I brought up my kids. I was doing jobs during my kids, and then I worked in my father's lumberyard before that, which is around here. It was on Wallace Avenue.
Oh yeah, that's really close.
Yeah, really close by. So I worked in the family biz, and then my mother actually is a builder, was a builder. And so I thought I would go and help her with her leases and her purchases and stuff like that.
That's a little, I never heard that before. Your mother was the builder?
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of groundbreaking.
Yeah, it was. She was before her time, way before her time. She worked till she was 95. So,
96.
96.
She just passed away a year and a half ago,
Yes, sure.
Well, I remember you were there then.
Yeah, that's right. But I think you're underestimating. I mean, when my grandfather owned lumberyards, he started as a tailor at Tip Top Tailors, and started, wanting to make some more money as he came over from Poland, and figured out that Ed Mirvish and what was the building right in front on Bloor Street?
It was Honest Ed's.
Honest
Oh,
Eds,
yeah,
sorry.
of course. Yeah,
Honest
of
Eds.
course, Honest
So
Eds.
they needed lumber to build Honest Eds, and he had a house with a laneway garage, and
On Palmerston.
On Palmerston, so he would order lumber to his garage, and in the laneway he would keep the lumber in his laneway garage, and he would sell to them, and then he would ask his neighbor's garage, and then his other neighbor's garage, and
A lot of people didn't own cars, so he would, get all the different garages, and then he got so busy with Ed Mirvish, And then, and Ed would always change everything around. And then he started doing other things. So my father started with him. And then he got so big that other builders in the city wanted lumber and, wanted to deal with my dad. So then he bought a place on Wallace Avenue. And he borrowed from this one and that one. And he worked his butt off and he started this lumberyard. And then my mom took whatever he had earned and bought property at that time, because she was so jealous of all these builders coming in and buying property. And she said, why aren't we just selling this lumber? Why don't we do the same thing? And then she said,
This is remarkable.
It is
This is unbelievable.
it's crazy. And
It is
then
actually
after
remarkable.
that-
So what year did she start, if you mind me like?
Oh, well, when I was just before I was born, so before 56. So she started buying property. And then she said, what am I going to pay some guy to put up these buildings? She decided she was going to do industrial condominiums. That was her thing.
So did you go to houses, industrial condominiums? Like,
Industrial condominiums.
Like we just toured one the other day, and I'd never even been there. I didn't even know we even had it, and it's like
It's cool.
40,000 square feet, 2 different buildings. She chose 2 different buildings that are on 2 different streets, right at
One on 1309 Kennedy Road and 260 Nantucket, and the streets go through.
and they connect. And she just had this idea that she's going to buy this building and buy that building, and then one day it'll. And it's.
And then she went
it's
back
amazing.
to Ryerson to learn how to learn how to read blueprints, and she decided that she was going to be her own builder. And so she, went to the lawyers and decided to do all this stuff on her own. And she got in trouble for not wearing hard hats and steel-toed shoes, and she used to yell at the guys on the.
She's the only woman. She was the only woman doing this at the time. The only woman.
it's the only one I've heard of.
Yeah.
Like, even in today, I don't know a single woman that's a builder.
Oh, and she took a law class
Do you?
back in.
Have you guys come across?
Yeah, there's some, but
There's
yeah,
some builders,
yeah,
but
for sure.
not
Most of them
this
are like
degree.
most of them are like teens, like a husband and I've seen teens before, but not like a woman like just doing this all on her own to do that. I'm sorry, this is
I know, it's incredible.
That's
And she-
incredible.
And so my dad had the lumberyards, and he expanded too. So she built industrial condominiums so that his lumberyard would move to Markham or Kennedy Road or whatever. And then he ended up working for her. So
at the really.
yes,
And I'd sit there at the dinner table listening to them talk about their properties and talk about their rental and talk. And it was when I was a kid, the only thing that ever made sense from like an economic standpoint was the idea that when you own property, you're not just owning the property, you're actually only coming up with a certain percentage, and for the bank will lend you the rest of the amount. And when you get appreciation on each property, you're actually getting appreciation on the full amount.
So how old were you when you learned this?
he
I was like
little.
14, 13.
See, it took me because my dad did the same very thing. He was a hairdresser. His dad passed away at 16. Started building buy properties at 20.
Yeah.
And then he would take the equity from one, buy other ones, and
Yeah.
that's how you built, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't really pay attention. He did something like, I was a little one. My dad used to take the all the properties, knock on the doors for rent, and I was always with him. And I'm like, why are we doing this? Well, it wasn't until I got my first big boy job as an analyst, and I'm like, and I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm like, until I realized that. I was like 25 or 26. Somebody was doing it right in front of me, but he never talked about like that was business. So I used to do stuff all the time.
Talking about Rich Dad Poor Dad, if you like, the one thing I learned is the difference between like an asset. What's a real asset, right? And when that was explained to me, I mean, I own, like when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I was
made
like,
sense.
oh, I already learned that. Like an asset is something that actually pays itself down.
Right.
Nothing else is an asset. Your car's not an asset unless
Your
you
house
rent it
is
out.
not an asset.
Your
Yeah.
house is not an asset. Sorry,
It's not.
it's not, because it's not paying its own loan down.
Well, actually, I have my MBA. We talked about. I have a business degree, of an undergrad and math degree, and then I have my MBA. We always talk about balance sheet. No one talks about. Even we did an entrepreneurship class, and it was funny. Up until I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, I'm like, holy shit! Like this made sense. Like, why are they not teaching this to kids?
Yeah.
Why do we not know this?
Holy
We
shit.
don't know balance checkbooks. We don't know what that. And like, if you haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, regardless if you like Robert Kiyosaki or not, whether you like him or not, the book is invaluable because I think it's so simple. It's so simple.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was just an eye opener. So you're reading it the same way. I'm like, I know that. Oh my God, my dad does that.
Yeah.
Your grandparents, like, they do that. They do that. That's awesome.
Well, and also my dad would be, he's in private equity, And so they would be buying and selling companies. And it all came down to, really understanding, the fundamentals of it. I love the idea of private equity, but when it comes to real estate, it's boring and makes sense and it's slow moving and it's hard if you look long term to lose.
I like boring because boring makes me money.
Boring makes money. That's right. That's right.
Boring makes me money.
That's right. And so when I was sitting there with my mom and she was like, "Hey, why don't you just join me?" I had done a lot of different things. I'd done a lot of different things.
Okay, so give us a little bit of your history. Where did you come from? Like, I don't mean like, I know obviously from your mother. I mean like, what is your business background? Where did you start? Where did you come from? Like, university or doing the university?
It's like a long story. Are you sure you guys want to listen to this?
Okay, give us Cole's notes.
Okay. Cole's notes is I took a year off to go to Whistler when I was 17 and was like, this is all I really ever want to do. I just want to ski and this is all I really want to do and have fun with my friends.
Ski bunnies, doing all that stuff.
Sure, but skiing mostly. Okay, my mom's right here. Okay, so so I got all kind of confused about like what all my friends were doing and what everyone is doing in the world, and I'm susceptible to wanting to like be a people pleaser. I think it's like something that I've always fought against, and I just want to be a part of what everyone else is doing. So I went and took economics at University of Guelph, and although it made sense to me, it was just soul sucking. So I went and studied theater studies, and I love being the center of attention.
Yes, always.
And by the way, if you haven't seen their videos, go. We're going to talk about those in a second,
yeah.
but I can see now where that comes
That's
from.
where it comes from.
I'm glad you shaved your mustache. You're starting to look like a
It was
pedophile.
really bad.
It was really bad. You look like a
days,
pedophile.
like
I became a dad, and I thought dads need mustaches.
No.
No, wrong.
yeah.
And I sort of got it because my dad had a mustache. If I grew a mustache, my wife would never even sleep with me. Not even the same room because I look too much like my dad and it's creep show. Anyway, go on. So
I
you did theater studies where?
I did theater studies and then in University of Guelph, and then I had a double major in economics and theater studies, and I went and studied film at Vancouver Film School. So I went and studied acting for film and television. I wanted to be in front of the camera. I actually wanted to be behind the camera because I like to tell people what to do also. And
has to be center of attention
got
and tell
sick.
people what to
I was
do.
23.
You're the baby of the family, right?
No,
I'm
no.
middle. I'm middle.
Yeah, middle son.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, you have a sister. I know that.
I have a sister who's got 4 kids, and my brother she just bought a chicken cleaning business. So it's just like random stuff.
But he's smart. He's good.
He's a good guy.
Oh, it's just the 3 of you then?
It's 3 of us,
I
yeah.
thought your brother was older than you for some reason.
I
I
know.
know hockey with his brother as well, so that's why I was saying.
My brother's he's the good player. Everyone wants. The only reason why I'm on this team. The only reason why I'm on this team is because they wanted Kevin to be on the team.
He's good.
He is good.
He is good.
He's really
He
good.
also played pro.
Yeah. We both play university. We talk about our schools. It's different.
Yeah, the glory days, and now everyone's in their 40s. It's like, come on. We all suck.
Be nice.
Although we beat the crap out of those guys
We
last
did beat the crap out of the guys last
Alright,
week.
get over it.
Yeah.
Get over yourself.
The long story short is I got cancer when I was 23, and I left film school, and I basically just got like I'm good now. I had Hodgkin's lymphoma. It was a really, really serious time for me. It was something that really shook me and shook you and shook everyone to a place where I was
You had Hodgkin's or non-Hodgkin's?
Hodgkin's.
Yeah, Hodgkin's.
Because my brother had
Stage 3.
My brother had non-Hodgkin's.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he was. I don't know. We don't know the stages back there. But that's what you were talking about. I'm like,
Yeah.
you find all the different types of leukemia and how like the one my brother got was very serious. It was acute leukemia and it didn't start radiation rate. They could have killed him over the weekend. It was that quick.
I was diagnosed on a Thursday. Well, I wasn't fully diagnosed.
Yeah.
She flew to Vancouver that day. Like when I had that test, she flew there.
Well, yeah, it's a long story. Yeah, I just, it was like a friend of mine who read the results said, just go out there and be with him. So I got on a plane and I just flew out there.
We packed my apartment that night. We left the next day. It was a weekend. By the time I got to PMH to Princess Margaret Hospital, amazing hospital, I had treatment by Wednesday. I started treatment by Wednesday.
He had dropped 20 pounds in like no time.
Yeah.
It's so. First of all, how did you know you had it? What was the symptoms? Because I know my brother's symptoms. I don't know if like for him, he flew to. He went with his girlfriend, housewife. They flew to Australia. I mean, there's like he right now at the time he was doing his PhD, he was stressed, and I think that affects it. Is your level of your body is just plus going the airplane, going to Australia, 24 hours of plane, kickstart something, and he did it twice. When he got back home, he was staying in my parents' house. He couldn't get up in bed. He literally could not get it. He'd get up, he'd stand up, he'd big goals, and they're like, "This is not right." So they're doing gamma to tests, so they figure out. After a while, it was a Friday. They figured out for him what he had, and they're like, either you start treatment or the weight. Like there's a whole thing with, when I talk about sperm count, all that kind of stuff. He had to make a decision like right then, and he not start right immediately. And it was very hard on the whole family.
Yeah,
It was.
And it shakes you. So something similar with you. Like how did you find it? You couldn't get out of bed or?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was 23. I was very active. I was in film school. I was doing yoga every day. I was in good shape, and I just started having really weird feelings where I would go for a run and I'd have these like stitches in my chest, and then they wouldn't go away for like 3, 4, or 5 hours. Like you get a stitch when you run. You're like it goes away, and like I just I was like getting slower playing hockey. I was like, in class doing memorizing lines and studying scripts and doing all different kinds of things with regards to film. And the Olympics were going on at the same time, so I was also partying. I was having a good time. The 2010 Olympics in Vancouver was incredible. And
I coached a couple of girls in the on the Olympic team sometimes. So your stories what happened in the village.
Yeah. Wow.
All I'm gonna say is the amount of condoms they hand out there is record breaking.
Again, podcast with my mom. So let's.
Sorry, I'm not talking about them. I'm not talking about you.
I don't want to go over all the. Anyways, he said generally we're not talking about politics. We're not talking about
religion.
Right.
Which is fine.
So sex is it.
Sex, exactly. Can't say anything about sex, exactly. As long as it's not my sex life, I'm okay with it.
I'll just finish up because the cancer thing, it came and it went, and to me it was a big fucking blur. Like I don't really remember everything that happened. I don't really remember everything I was feeling. Once I got through a bunch of chemos, it just mushed my brain, mushed my soul. The best way I can explain it is like you're a kid fighting a bully, and the bully says, "All right, we got to fight," and everyone's like, "You better fight him." So you fight him, he beats the shit out of you, and then you're like really hurt the next day, and then you go back the next week, and he's like, "All right, we got to fight again." And you're like, "Oh, I remember what that felt like. I don't want to do this again." And everyone's like, "You got to fight him. Sorry, you have to do it." So you fight him again.
No choice.
And then you fight him again, and every time you flinch more and you flinch more, and eventually you're just numb, and you get through it. But in the end of the day, it took me.
Takes a toll.
It takes a toll, and it took me. I ended up getting somehow. I was playing golf, and because I was there playing golf every day
With his bald head.
with my bald head. I was playing with 70, 80-year-olds, and they were all having the same issues that I had. Because it was like,
did you get cataracts too? Did you get cataracts? So my brother, the same thing.
I didn't get cataracts.
Because that's one of the symptoms. My brother was eating gums. He got cataracts, and I'm like, you're a 90-year-old man.
And they were like, you gotta make some money. Have kids. I was like, sure. I lost a year of my life, so I sold insurance for a year, and then I went and I sold. I built like an online platform to help people in the film industry connect and network, and I went and worked for large events for a company called Real Screen and Kid Screen in New York and LA and DC. And I ended up, running around to different companies trying to find myself. And I ended up going into run large scale events. I ran all the events entertainment for the Pan Am Games, for the athletes. I had 10,000 athletes I was responsible for. I just was like running around trying to find myself and whatever was happening. And I just found that, and then I wanted to become a therapist. And I did 10 I did 10 months of studying for that, and that just tore my soul apart. Not that I don't want to help people, but I just felt like it was tearing apart. And then I ended up getting
no comment.
Yeah,
I would agree with that 100%.
They're angels, the people who do it.
Agreed.
You have to be a certain personality, but
angels. But I got
it's not a paycheck, I'll tell you that, and by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh God, it's not a paycheck.
Oh my God.
It's not a paycheck. But I was watching her the whole time, and she's running this business by herself. She's getting bigger and bigger listings. She's getting more and more clients. She's getting more and more notoriety from people. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, I just worked with your mom. She's incredible." And I started kind of like looking at what was happening, and I was working for a custom home builder at the time, and I got.
We forgot about to mention that. Eh?
Yeah, I was-
Oh, by the way, I was working for a custom home builder.
Yeah,
That's
was-
one of my thousand
And he was
jobs.
going to do property management, and he was going to he did a course on that, like, you know, to do.
I took my PMP, my
So
property
then-
management.
So and then
Easy, eh?
and then he said, I said, why don't you come with me or whatever, you know? Like, and then one day he said, you know what, I think I'm going to try it. So it was great.
And what year did you end up getting license?
That was in 2017. So however many years ago that is.
I can do the math.
Yeah.
I was a math minor.
Yeah, math minor. It was honestly my first year. I'd never, within the first week, she had a $2.5 million listing, and she went away.
Oh, I just went up to Collingwood. I wasn't away.
She
but
went
then
away.
all of a sudden, like we were expecting, you know, it was just the beginning of the bullies going crazy.
We had 7 offers.
We had like crazy. So all of a sudden, the bully came in on Friday at 6 p.m. and I was up in Collingwood.
So a bully offer is when you have an offer date and an offer comes in before the expected offer date. And it's supposed to be like a fantastic offer that you don't want to wait to the offer date. It's going to be firm, low conditions, hopefully a big check assigned with it. And we're like, we'll close when you want. And it's supposed to be amazing.
Yeah. And then another 6 came in, and Russell
6 more
On your first,
on my first deal.
on his first.
I had experience in the year prior
Yeah.
of like sitting there. We had a 16 offer situation where we all sat there.
And back then, 2.5 is worth like would be like $5 or $6 million listing.
Yeah,
Now, it's
it's-
not $2.5 million test. Like it's a big listing even today.
Yeah.
Back in 2017, it was huge.
It
Like
was
huge.
Beautiful house.
in Riverdale.
Riverdale,
It was
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, gorgeous.
So
So sink or swim, hey, Russ?
And Mark, the guy that we were working with, he came out to me. He's like we finished it, we got it done. He looks and he's like, pretty good. Was that your first deal? I was like sitting there with him, and I was having a beer with him afterwards. And he's like, was that your first deal? I was like, yeah. He's like, pretty good first deal. He's like, you're welcome.
One of the first deals I did too. The reason I'm bringing this up is I was negotiating, and
Yeah.
So I've owned rental properties 20 years prior before. So I've owned for 20 years. I've been licensed for 9. So I was good at negotiating for
Yeah.
real estate before I actually had my license. And one of the first deals I did, I was just kind of like, I was strong. I got the deal like really below market value. I pushed for my clients up too, and I let it slip. I'm like, well, that's kind of like my first deal. And he's like, what are you talking about? And it sounds like because when you've seen your mom doing that stuff to you, you've been doing it for like, he goes, I thought you've been doing this for like 15 years. And it's like, you probably say, did you feel the same? Did he see this? Could he tell you it was your first year? Probably not, because you had a great
I just copied her, honestly. I just copied everything she did. It's like everything she did, I just became like a mini Karen. And
now
not,
he's like,
I was gonna say,
not a Karen, not a Karen. She's not a
I'm not a
Karen.
real Karen, okay?
No, not at all.
No. I'm a Sheila. No. No, but and then he, you know, he's great. I mean, honestly, he's much better than me now. So he's really. Someone just said to me yesterday, who I'm passing tourist, and I said, still having a lot of fun. So I'm not ready, and because you know that my mother working till she was 96, it's like, go away.
Have you heard of this? Like somebody said to me like before, why do people play golf? Why? Like, what's the best reason? If you're going to pick a sport, why is golf the best sport?
It's work. Probably not location break.
It's the only sport you can play it when you first start to walk until you go into the grave. It's the only sport. It doesn't matter. When you play hockey, we're going to 80-year-old, you can play, but it's not the same, right? You get hurt, people are but basketball. So you can play a 5-year-old could play with a 95-year-old.
Yeah.
And you're still playing it's the same course.
Yeah, you're right.
I find the same thing with real estate. If you're a realtor, you don't have to play you don't have to sell as hard as you do at certain times. Like maybe in retirement, maybe you do like 4 or 5 deals a year. Maybe you still keep that in there. It's a career you never really need to step away from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not so much fun.
Yeah.
And
Right now?
And sometimes it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I love the people. So, I mean, and honestly, if you don't get your boots on the ground, there's nothing that's going to happen. So, even, you know, like I was knocking on the door. We had a good knock.
We've been knocking.
You still door knock.
Yes.
We did last week. Yeah, we have clients that needs like specific homes in low inventory areas, and for the most part, whenever a client is looking for a home, and I have my mom who's been in the business for a very long time, who's
Really?
well,
anyways.
whatever, an experience,
16 years, good years.
experienced, established, very successful business person who's like, all right, let's get put your running shoes on. No one cares what you look like at the door. Just go and ask.
Yeah.
And like
Do you find it's different now since the knocking on doors people are, because after the pandemic, I noticed it's starting to change
Yeah,
now.
it's
People are starting to open
changing.
the door more.
Yeah.
But remember during the pandemic,
no,
no,
it's-
was not opening anything.
yeah.
I find it's still a little
you
bit
just,
reluctant.
knock and you walk down to the
Yeah,
bottom of the
walk down to
stairs.
the bottom of the stairs. That's
Yeah,
what I think
that
it
makes
is.
sense.
But like it's we get calls back on the letters we drop off, and surprisingly, if you do enough door knocking, you get deals, and you get real deals out of it. And the buyers that we have that are expecting it from us now, because it's part of our thing. It's like if we're gonna go and work for you, we're not gonna just wait for you to send us stuff from House Sigma and be like, all right, let's go and find that place that you're going to find for me. No, we're your representation. We're working for you.
Yeah.
So if you say, all right, we've gone and we've seen 20 places, you missed out on this place, well, let's go find you that again.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, where is it? Exactly. Let's go find it.
Yeah.
So we go and find it.
Just
And
talking to people.
it's just talking to people. Most people are like, get out of here.
Yeah.
But like, whatever.
I find that works too. I had a specific a buyer, right? So I don't like if there's certain things we wanted. She
Yeah.
wanted this specific complex.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest, we have so many listings right now. Some of my clients are like, well, we'll wait for it. How so? You're like, there's nothing they know until they see it, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to do that. But I had one client, it's one complex. She wanted this townhouse, so I draw the whole complex, and ended up not getting not getting the deal. But we had a way in that we saw before it went to listing, short of that property, but another one popped up as we were looking at this one that she knew right away that she bought because we saw this one. She was able to get it at a below price of value,
That's right.
but because we door knocked, right?
That's right.
It becomes valuable too if you have the time resource. But I find that a lot of the times there was 100 or something there. I think maybe 17 people opened the doors.
I know.
And I think it's okay. You have to have thick skin. I have people yell at me. They always do. I got an effing realtor. What the hell do you want? I'm not
No,
looking at some
thank you.
I mean, listen, that's fine. That's like I'm not. We have. So I met your one. Like we on Tuesdays we come and we talk.
Yeah.
I help met your other realtors or one of our friends, Kelly. She was door knocking, and she got to see a neighbor, which is great. She had a listing with them, which was great, but she had one lady chase her off her front porch. I'm like, so she had both. I'm like, so you experience both highs and lows. That's what happens. That's what you door knock. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like one thing I learned from my mom, and I think I learned from guys like you or people who've been in the business for a long time. And another reason as to why we came over to Signature is because, first of all, yes, we were at another brokerage. Dave asked us to come and consider.
Because you guys were already talking to, they were saying that to the other side, to the recruit side of the recruiters
To
anyway.
Jim,
To
yeah.
Jim,
Yeah,
Jim
to
Millette.
Jim Millette in Thailand.
Shout
right
out
now.
to Jim.
Shout out to Jim. And it was just the reiteration of the fundamentals of business, as well as the training, as well as the just knowing that the company itself is going to back you up, but also motivate you to do the work, to do the boring.
And Chris Lydon says
yeah.
all the time, he's like, do the work.
Yeah.
We will give you the tools, but it's not going to help you until you do the work.
do the work.
And we talked with Sam, and one of the reasons I think she was like, what are the keys to success? And one thing she always said she loved about me was like, we would do something, even when we were talking to Tom Ferry, last couple weeks ago. Elise, my sister and I were sitting there like, what can we do? So we incorporated some of the stuff already. And she's like, that's Sam Love. She goes, I like you, at least you try it. Like,
Yeah.
I know it doesn't always translate from the States, from the coaches from there to here. I explain that, but it doesn't mean you don't try.
Yeah.
And since I've started this thing, we've always tried to, every time they bring something, I'm like, I always tell my guys to take one or two things and try it.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do. At least you try it. Sometimes it might work, and sometimes it might not.
And that's why clients stay with you. That's why clients stay with you for a long time. We have long-standing clients for the last 15 years, and they just are like, how do you guys keep doing it? Well, the answer is like, we just put you first. We just think about what it is that actually needs to get done. And if we do that, our business grows and their opportunities grow, and we end up in a pretty mutually beneficial space.
It's not about us, it's about you.
So one thing I did want to talk about is like two things. One is like, you guys work as a mother, the son team, obviously.
Yeah.
I was saying off air, I'm like, I love my mom, but I think I might kill her if I worked with her. Do you guys not get into it a lot? Like you're saying, Karen, you're laughing, you're like, he doesn't let me talk, he doesn't let me do this. It's like,
Yes.
is that an ongoing joke or is
No,
it?
it's kind of a shtick right now because it just happens. But I know him really well. He knows me really well. We sort of have the same brain, and we're sort of both ADD, so we excuse a lot of things. Like he'll do something that really pisses me off. I could have done that myself. So then and then he'll do the same thing. Mom, you didn't show up to the. I go, And then he'd go, yeah, I'd probably do that too. So it's like, it's an understanding. But, I guess there are some heated times, but not really.
I think it's the one thing that like people don't realize is that like the values are there, and the values are so ingrained and so aligned that it doesn't really matter what you do as long as you stay on that same path. And like obviously I have an amazing mentor in you, and I really do respect you.
Oh, thanks,
but
honey.
I also really feel
You got to tell her off camera too that you don't
I
just
know.
have to say it in front of
I do.
people. Like,
He does,
it's like when you're married. I know you're recently married and have a little one, so it's like you have to tell like we have to have time to decide. So I have to do this too. Tell her how beautiful she is and how much you got to tell your mom how much you appreciate.
it's
It.
not a problem with us because like the reality is like she's extremely generous, extremely generous with not only me but with all of our clients and all of our friends and all the people that are out there. And all I have to do is just emulate that. And in the end of the day, like none of this stuff, like everything passes, right? If I'm gonna take one lesson from my mom, it's that like all the good things pass, all the bad things pass. All the things that we're going through is gonna pass. So if you just stick to our values and have the same morale and just respect each other, whatever the values are.
And it's just like, from my parents as well. You work hard, you do the best you can, you don't ignore, just ignore the fluff and get right to it. And if you're true to yourself and do exactly the best you absolutely can, then you're good.
Like when you
That's great advice, by the way. Like I was usually fed wrap up with that advice, but I like that advice. That's great.
like if you have a problem with someone, what are you gonna do? You're gonna hide and then you're gonna hold it in and whatever. And it's just
I don't
like
get it. I don't get it. If you're mad with me, tell me. Like I'm a man. Like I'm a big boy. Yeah.
I told you when you tossed the puck up the middle a couple times.
Yeah, I told you to, and I like it. And you actually come up to me and say you apologize more than I've ever seen before. Sorry about that, throwing that pizza up the middle. But hey, it happens. But no, it's the dynamic is great. Now you got to tell me. So with the second question, the videos.
Yeah.
There's some funny videos you guys do, and I don't know, I don't know who's getting who involved in them. I figure that because sometimes I think I look at Karen, I'm like, God bless her. She's right in there.
She's
and,
awesome.
Yeah, the
She's so
real.
good at it.
It's
What kind of shit is he going to get me into today? Like, it's like, what is he going to make me do? He goes, Mom, that's not good. And then because of his theater background, he'll go, and then he'll go back to the person who's doing the filming. He'll go, take it again. Like, he goes, Mom, you got to like juice it up a bit. Like, and then I see it and I'm going, why did I do that? Why did I listen to that?
She's the type of person that like if she has a hype man on her side, like or a hype friend on her side, it's like she'll go to the furthest extent.
Yeah.
Like if you go and have lunch with her and her girlfriends, they're literally cackling, laughing the entire frickin' time. Like they're all hilarious. And she's like all of her. I saw some of her camp friends in the park, and they're like, "Oh, how's Rosie?" My mom's name is Rosenberg, or her maiden name. Oh, how's Rosie doing? Oh man, she's freaking crazy. And I'm like, my mom, she's crazy. But so that the goal that I always have from the videos is like how to just like have the most fun possible. I also want to have the most fun possible, so I'm also doing it myself. But it's like, let's just have fun. Let's have as much fun as we possibly can. And like, to be honest, like a door is a door, a toilet's a toilet, like the house is a house. And like, yes, we're going to try and protect you guys as much as we can. But like, we got to have fun too. Yeah. I just got to have a good time.
I like the level of the class because I've seen some of they do the opposite. They try to make too much fun of the house. Yeah. And it's like sometimes it lands. And sometimes it's like, there's this one realtor, she's like talking about house. And I'm like, oh, like, just basically ripping on the house, but all like what you could do in the house. And it was, and it's funny and it gets views, but they're not the views that I would want for you.
Yeah.
No, it goes back to the values.
So sometimes we try to do some funny stuff. Like,
Yeah.
at least was in one of the last videos. Like, I'm like, I got certain things. I'm like, I don't know if my personality like this. I'm very animated, but when it comes to some of the video stuff, I'm like, I don't know how well play. So I always play like safe on that side. I want to showcase the house. We do cool stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's always like, yeah, but I don't want to rip on that because you don't know some people's personality. And I'm like Stephen Kim. Like, I don't know if you guys joined the Bookage after maybe he left. I don't know if he was there at the time. Stephen Kim. He's with Real right now. And he did like this house. He had this house and it was an old lady's house, really. And he did this whole thing, grandma's house. It was hilarious, right? He goes, he's a kind of toilet. I think, oh, that's the rain left you have improved. You over here. Or like he was in the car, like this, like, and it was like nothing get changed, but it was done classically.
Yeah,
But it was
yeah.
also funny, and he got like 1 million views.
Oh, that's the best.
Oh my God.
He did like that was. It was good, and it sold with multiple offers.
Wow.
And it was one of those things that was like, but it was, you almost got to get the buy-in from the client saying, okay, we're going to do like a funny video, but it was,
Oh, yeah.
it was so well done.
Yeah.
And you see people trying to do like, oh, well, Matt Campoli does a lot of funny things too. I love Matt as well. He's been on the show.
Oh,
yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so, but his personality is like that. He does like sometimes this stuff is like, it's like, okay, it's a little bit of a shtick. I'm like, okay. But some of it, most of it lands pretty good.
Because it's not about us.
No.
It's about the property.
that's the thing. My point is,
we're
but-
having fun, but it's about the property.
But if you're
What
not,
does the-
but if
yeah.
you're not showcasing the house, and you're like, and I said this many times. I've said this like, just because your realtor has lots of views, what are they looking at? There's a one realtor, you see her ass and her Louis Vuittons every time. I don't know what house you're selling. I'm just like, all the view, all the girls are like, I'm like, did you see any of the house? Like, no, we're all staring at her ass. And I'm like, and I don't know if you're hiring, it is what it is. Like, sure, you had 2 million views, but like, no one even saw anything in the house. I'm like, that doesn't land as well. But it is what, at least you got 2 million views. Good for you, or whatever it is, right? Hundreds of
So
thousands.
here's a good one. We were at the Tom Ferry thing, and he's like all juiced up about doing some great stuff. And he goes, Mom, great idea. You're going to make your cookies. I make tons of cookies for clients, and get you a hat and an apron. It's going to be Karen's Kitchens, and we're going to give it out for Christmas.
Stay tuned.
And give it out for Christmas, and this and that. And he's, all you have to do is make like 5 million cookies. And you know, was I like, what the hell? Anyways, P.S.
Yeah, let's go fuck yourself.
It's October 30th. We're giving them out in 2 weeks. Russ, we got to get on it. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
So you're just
Oh,
like,
so
yeah, man,
this
think
is
you're
just
doing the work,
this,
right?
this is how it works. She calls me out, and then I do better, and that's how it works. That's how the mother-son team works.
You go, well, unfortunately, we have to wrap up. So, like, if people want to watch those videos and watch this dynamic, what is the
That's
best
fine.
way for them to find you guys?
You can look on Willer Real Estate, which is just WILLER Real Estate.
Oh, yeah, I put it as an A. I don't know why that.
Or RJ Willer on Instagram, or you can look at our website, which is willerrealestate.com.
Yeah.
We got lots of fun stuff, but thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks again for
Thanks for having us.
This is
We
this is
appreciate
awesome,
it.
right? They were a little nervous. I was talking to Karen. I'm like, listen, all you're doing is having a conversation. We'll talk about what we won't talk about politics and
Just
just regular stuff. But thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you, too.
Yeah, this has been very. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, because I had to delay. You guys were awesome.
thank
great time. Yeah, thank you.
Guys, as you know, as
Thank you.
usual, please like and follow wherever you can. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. We love that. Share with your friends. If you have make some comments, we'd love to hear that. If you have any topics you want Owen and I to talk about, if you have any guests, ideas, we want to hear that as well. You can always DM me on Instagram as well. Follow me along. And if you go on my link tree on Instagram, you can listen. You can click on the link tree, and there has all my links to all the podcasts everywhere you can listen, because this one gets broadcast everywhere. So,
Oh, really?
yeah. But thanks again. We'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.